Have you ever paused to truly consider the sheer number of pets in the world?
It's something we don't often think about on a grand scale.
Exactly. We often think of our cherished companions at home, but beyond them, there's this vast and often forgotten population of strays.
Hmm.
And when these animal populations spiral out of control, it doesn't just create sad stories. It weaves a complex web of challenges: ecological, public health, economic.
Yeah, it impacts all of us globally, really.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into this burgeoning concern of pet overpopulation and abandonment.
A really critical issue.
Our mission is to go beyond the headlines, unpacking the often surprising root causes, exploring the real and significant costs it imposes on society,
And looking at solutions, too, right?
and examining the innovative, sometimes controversial solutions being proposed and implemented around the world. We'll be paying special attention to a comprehensive framework from India that offers some truly fascinating insights.
Yeah, that Indian model is particularly interesting.
To guide us through this deep dive, we've pulled from a stack of compelling sources,
Good stuff.
including a detailed research paper from PubMed Central on control strategies and liability insurance,
Oh, interesting.
the extensive revised animal birth control module from India's Animal Welfare Board, analyses on tech and policy integration
Okay.
from the Research Journal of Pharmaceutical, Biological, and Chemical Sciences, and a look at balancing public safety and animal welfare from Drishti IAS.
So a really solid base of information.
Definitely. So what can you expect from our conversation? Get ready for some eye-opening statistics,
The numbers are quite stark.
a deep look into the economics of stray animal care, and a critical examination of how we can achieve a more harmonious coexistence.
It's not just about the problems, but about finding workable, effective actions.
Exactly. This isn't just problem identification. It's about understanding and effective action. Okay, let's unpack this then. Our sources describe pet overpopulation and abandonment as a long-standing and burgeoning concern globally.
Yeah, burgeoning feels right. It's not shrinking.
It's truly not just a local problem in a few communities. It's a worldwide phenomenon.
And what's striking here is simply the scale. I mean, we're talking about millions of pets being bred commercially and privately,
Brilliant.
and then abandoned annually. To give you some context, in India alone, estimates are around 62 to 80 million stray dogs.
62 to 80 million.
And in just 1 year, 2024, over 2.2 million dog bite cases were reported across the country.
Wow.
These aren't just numbers. They represent immense suffering for the animals and significant risks for people, too.
That figure for dog bites alone is huge. It really puts the scale into perspective.
Yeah.
But beyond the immediate issue of the animals themselves, what are the broader consequences? Why should this matter to, a wider audience?
That's a really important question because beyond the direct suffering, which is significant, the sources highlight 3 key areas where these issues cascade into wider societal problems.
Okay.
First, there's the ecological impact. Abandoned animals, especially exotic species, think raccoons, turtles, things not native.
Right, the ones people release into the wild.
Exactly. They can become invasive. They start preying on native wildlife, spreading diseases, and basically disrupting entire local ecosystems. It's like an unplanned biological invasion.
Okay, so ecological damage, that's one. What else?
Second, and this is a big one, public health and safety risks. This is where it gets really impactful. Animal bites, particularly from dogs, are a major concern. Tragically, they contribute to about 36% of global rabies deaths.
36%.
Yeah, and disproportionately affecting vulnerable groups like kids, women, the elderly.
That's terrible.
Then you have zoonoses, diseases passing from animals to humans. Over 60 are linked to animals, many connected to the exotic pet trade, things like avian flu, salmonellosis.
Even links to things like SARS-CoV-2, I read?
Yeah, links to the wildlife trade component. And then there are just, road hazards. Animal-related traffic accidents cost countries like the UK upwards of $14.6 million a year.
Okay, so health, safety, accidents. What's the third area?
And finally, the economic burden.
That's
Enormous.
that.
Governments, local authorities, NGOs, they bear multi-million-dollar costs managing these populations. Just think, the average daily cost to keep a small dog in a shelter is around €6 in places like Spain, the UK, Australia, the US.
Okay, €6 a day.
Now, multiply that over a potential 16-year lifespan if that dog isn't adopted, you're looking at over $34,000.
For one dog.
For one dog, scale that up.
Oh.
And then add the costs of managing invasive species. Estimates are $12.5 billion a year in Europe, $120 billion a year in the U.S.
Okay, the costs are just staggering. So we're talking massive financial burdens, widespread health and ecological problems. Which makes you wonder, why have the things we've tried historically, sanctions, taxes, education, why have they largely failed to curb this?
That's a crucial point, and when one source really digs into it. The core issue, they argue, is this fundamental asymmetry, an imbalance between supply and demand in the pet market.
Okay, supply and demand. How so?
Well, on the demand side, the pet market is booming, right? Half of European households, two-thirds of U.S. households have a pet. But this demand often lacks, let's say, control mechanisms. It leads to impulsive buys, ill-considered acquisitions. People get pets without fully grasping the commitment.
And that leads to abandonment down the line.
Often, yes. Then on the supply side, the market is incredibly lucrative, but regulations haven't kept pace. There are surprisingly few controls on commercial breeders and suppliers. Over 13,000 species are in the market, an estimated 350 million exotic animals traded each year.
Wow, 350 million.
It's a huge, often unregulated flood onto the market.
So essentially this massive oversupply kind of devalues the animals,
Yeah.
leads to less attachment, higher abandonment.
Exactly. It can even create what some call inverse prices, where owners actually pay someone else just to take their unwanted pet.
Right, I see the logic. The market is just saturated and not enough responsible homes can absorb them all.
Okay, so given these systemic failures, the huge costs, it's clear something radical needed to change. And this is where India's Animal Birth Control, or ABC, rules from 2023 come in. Our sources point to this as a comprehensive, humane, and scientific approach. Absolutely. The ABC program, which updates earlier 2001 rules, represents a really profound shift. It moves away from the mass killing of street dogs.
Which is the practice for a long time.
For over 150 years in India, up until the early 2000s. So this is a huge change. The Supreme Court has even emphasized its full implementation, showing a national commitment.
So it's a mandated national approach, not just a suggestion.
Yeah.
And the core is this catch, neuter, release, or CNR method
Right.
for both street dogs and, interestingly, free-roaming cats, too.
Yes, including cats is significant.
What have been the actual tangible results? Have they seen success?
The evidence is really quite compelling, actually, on several fronts. First, population reduction. In cities like Jodhpur, dog populations fell 40% in just 3 years. Jaipur saw a 50% drop between 1997 and 2014. Mumbai achieved over 75% sterilization rates, leading to drastic population decreases.
So it demonstrably works to reduce numbers. What about public health? Rabies, bites.
That's where the results are perhaps even more dramatic. India-wide human rabies cases have significantly reduced.
Really?
Jaipur reported no rabies deaths in areas where ABC was implemented. Mumbai saw human rabies deaths plummet from 63 a year pre-ABC down to just 1 a year from 2011-2013 and 0 in 2014.
0. That's incredible.
And Chennai dropped from 120 cases in 96 to 5 by 2004, with no human rabies deaths since 2007. It's a major public health success.
Wow. And dog bites.
Also decreased. Sterilized dogs tend to be less aggressive, and areas like Jaipur have seen fewer dog bites, even while the human population grew.
These results are incredibly encouraging. It's clearly a win for animal welfare and public health. But for a nationwide program like this to work so well, it must be incredibly detailed, right?
Yeah.
What does it actually involve on the ground?
You're absolutely right. The success comes from an incredibly elaborate and rigorously designed system. The official module lays out highly specific protocols.
Like what?
Well, it starts with regulating breeding and sale, pet breeding and selling only at authorized centers. And crucially, people wanting pets might need accreditation of suitability.
Suitability, what does that mean?
It involves checks on their training, criminal record, economic stability, even the space they have available.
Trying to prevent those impulse buys we talked about.
Exactly, and tackling the oversupply issue at the source.
Okay, so that's for owned pets.
No?
What about the strays themselves, the CNR part?
Right. The operational protocols for strays are meticulous. Humane capture techniques are key hand-catching preferred to build trust, or using specialized nets designed for minimal injury. Transportation follows strict guidelines, too. Special vans, no overcrowding, water stops, cooler travel times.
Really thinking about the animal's stress levels.
Definitely. And suspected rabid dogs are transported separately, vans disinfected after every use. It shows incredible attention to detail for both welfare and disease control.
So it's not just grab and neuter. Every step is managed. What about the medical side? Surgery, aftercare.
Held to equally high standards. Surgery by qualified vets in proper facilities, standardized techniques for males and females, dogs and cats. Specific anesthesia protocols are outlined. After surgery, every animal gets an anti-rabies vaccination. Cats also get the FVRCP vaccine.
Right, standard practice.
And for identification, a humane V-shaped notch on the ear flap using an electric cauterizer. No branding.
Okay, that's clear ID. What about recovery?
Post-op care is critical. Minimum 4 days in kennels, supervised recovery, strict hygiene to prevent infection, detailed guidance on pain relief and antibiotics.
4 days minimum, okay.
And here's something that shows the program's accountability: the record keeping. It's mandated to be extremely comprehensive.
How comprehensive?
Daily records of capture, release, feeding, treatment, medicine inventory, mortality, equipment, staff attendance, even CCTV footage of facilities kept for 30 days.
Wow.
They even track organs removed during surgery, count them, and document their destruction. It ensures transparency and scientific integrity.
That level of detail is truly remarkable. It explains the consistency of the results, I suppose. That's an entire operational ecosystem.
It really is.
But even with such a robust system, the sources hint at ongoing challenges, right? And maybe future innovations. What else is needed beyond these ABC rules?
That's a good point. While the ABC rules are strong, critiques mention challenges like resource constraints, maybe some unclear classifications, and the potential for human-dog conflict still exists in places.
Right.
So this leads to thinking about broader, integrated approaches. For instance, the rules do address dog bite complaints directly. Local authorities have to set up helplines.
Okay.
If a dog is repeatedly biting without provocation, it's humanely captured for observation. If deemed suitable after maybe some behavioral work, it's released back to its original territory.
And just dumped somewhere else.
No, that's key for stable pack dynamics.
And what about community involvement?
That's another crucial element. The module emphasizes fostering positive relationships, designated feeding spots, managing litter, encouraging local caregivers to volunteer.
Sharing the responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even guidelines for seasonal care bedding in winter, water in summer. It moves beyond just technical fixes to shared responsibility.
Okay, shifting some burden to the community makes sense. But that brings us back to owner responsibility, too.
Yeah.
One paper proposed that insurance idea, CHSI.
Yes, compulsory owner health and survival liability insurance.
Sounds like car insurance for pets. Tell us more.
That's the perfect analogy. The core idea is that CHSI would guarantee essential services if an owner suddenly can't care for their pet anymore, illness, financial hardship, whatever.
So it's a safety net to prevent abandonment.
Precisely. A cornerstone for prevention and covering the costs if abandonment happens. The paper estimates a premium, maybe $400, $500 a year for a medium dog, which would, in theory, cover that potential $34,000 lifetime shelter cost if the dog ends up there.
It's a bold idea. Fundamentally changes the commitment level.
It aims to, yes. Shifts how we value and take long-term responsibility.
That's fascinating. And this leads me to technology. How can tech help tie all this together? The ABC rules, community efforts, maybe even this insurance idea.
The potential is immense. Tech could really transform efficiency and effectiveness.
How so?
Well, sources suggest things like RFID and the Internet of Things, microchips providing real-time data on location, health, vaccination status, much better population tracking.
Like a digital census?
Sort of, yeah. Then mobile apps. Things like HSI apps from Humane Society International are already using GPS and dashboards for real-time monitoring and data collection. It helps programs adapt quickly.
Makes sense. Better management. What about AI?
And looking further out, artificial intelligence. AI could potentially advance animal monitoring, maybe personalize care, optimize vet practices with predictive analytics.
Even help understand conflict triggers.
Possibly identify behavioral patterns. Yeah, it's early days, but the potential is there.
So it really is about combining robust policy like the ABC rules, active community engagement, maybe innovative finance like CHSI, and then layering on cutting-edge tech.
It's a truly multifaceted challenge, requiring a holistic approach. You can't just tackle one part.
We've certainly taken a deep dive into this complex world. Pet overpopulation, abandonment, from the global impact and economic costs, to the incredible detail of India's ABC rules.
Which are showing real promise.
And then looking ahead to technologies like AI and ideas like compulsory pet insurance, it's clear this touches everything: ecology, health, economics, ethics.
Individual responsibility, community action. It's all intertwined.
And for you, the learner, this deep dive really shows how interconnected these seemingly separate issues are. The journey from, a single stray dog on a street corner to a complex policy involving governments, NGOs, communities, and advanced tech. It's a powerful testament to the need for these holistic solutions.
You really see the system at work.
So as we consider the future, the push for maybe tighter controls on breeding and sales, this bold idea of mandatory pet liability insurance, maybe consider this.
What is the true full cost of companionship? Not just the cost to the owner, but the cost to society. And what responsibility should be absolutely non-negotiable if we want a world where humans and animals can actually coexist peacefully and sustainably?
That's the fundamental question, isn't it? What does responsible coexistence really look like? But it affects communities everywhere. Pet overpopulation and abandonment.
It really does. It's one of those background issues that has massive foreground consequences.
Yeah, exactly. Like you think strays, maybe you picture a few dogs wandering around your neighborhood, right? But the reality is, well, it's way bigger and more tangled than you probably imagine. We're talking serious economic costs, public health stuff, even ecological impacts. It ripples out.
It really does ripple through everything.
So our mission today is to unpack all that. Look at why maybe some old solutions didn't quite cut it and explore some newer ideas, trying to balance, keeping people safe, but also thinking about animal welfare.
And we've really drawn from a wide range of sources for this one. We've got scientific papers looking at market dynamics, health risks, detailed policy docs from India, which are fascinating,
Oh, interesting.
and analyses digging into the ethical side, too. So it's a pretty broad look.
Okay, so let's get into it. This invisible crisis, what does it actually look like on the ground? The scale. What are the numbers saying?
Well, the numbers are, frankly, pretty staggering. Every year, millions of pets are bred, often commercially, big scale, and then later abandoned
Millions.
worldwide.
Millions. Wow.
And just for context, estimates put the global dog population at over 1 billion.
1 billion.
Okay. And pet ownership is huge. Like roughly half of households in Europe have a pet, and it's even higher in the U.S., about 67%. That's a colossal number of animals. And sadly, a big chunk of those eventually end up homeless or in shelters.
Right. And you mentioned consequences beyond the animals themselves. This is where it starts to hit home for everyone, really. What about those economic ripples, the ecological stuff?
Okay, so the economic burden first. It's huge. We're talking multi-million-dollar costs, and the key thing is they mostly get shifted away from the individual owner
Right.
onto governments, NGOs, charities. So ultimately, taxpayers are footing a lot of the bill.
So it's a hidden cost for all of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, take a small dog in a shelter. Maintaining it costs around €6 a day. Sounds manageable, maybe. But if that dog isn't adopted or euthanized and lives, say, 16 years in that shelter, the total cost could hit nearly $35,000
$35,000 for one dog.
for one dog. That's a massive, often unseen drain on public and charitable funds.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just about feeling bad for the animals. It's a serious financial issue, too. But you mentioned health and safety as well.
Absolutely. Public health is a big one. Over 60 zoonotic diseases. Those are the ones that jump from animals to humans or linked to pets. Over 60. And exotic pets. They're even riskier. Estimates suggest they're involved in maybe 60 to 75% of emerging diseases. Things like avian flu, salmonellosis.
Yeah.
Even SARS-CoV-2 has links to the wildlife trade that feeds the exotic pet market.
That's unsettling.
And the direct costs are there, too.
Yeah.
In the UK, for example, dog attacks cost the health system about £4 million a year just for treatment. Add another $10 million for treating zoonotic diseases traced back to dogs.
Okay, so financial drain, health risks. What about the environmental side, when these pets end up wild?
Yeah, that's the ecological impact. Abandoned animals, especially exotic ones that aren't native, can become invasive species.
Right, they don't belong there.
Exactly. They compete with local wildlife, they prey on them, they spread new diseases. It disrupts the whole ecosystem. And the cost. In Europe, invasive species, including these former pets, cost an estimated $12.5 billion a year.
Billion.
Billion with a B. And in the U.S., it's estimated at a minimum of $120 billion annually. They fundamentally change natural environments.
That's incredible. And you also mentioned something more immediate, road safety.
Yes, that too. Abandoned animals wandering onto roads are a real hazard. They cause accidents. In the UK alone, that's estimated to cost around $14.6 million a year. So, yeah, the fallout touches almost every part of society.
It really does stack up.
And what's really interesting, or maybe worrying, is how all these problems seem linked to a basic imbalance in the pet market itself.
How so?
Well, you've got this rapidly growing demand for pets, right? People want animals, but there aren't really strong controls on how people acquire them.
Okay.
And at the same time, the supply side is huge. often unregulated and very lucrative. We're talking maybe 13,000 different species traded, 350 million exotic animals entering the market every year.
350 million, that's mind-boggling. So supply way outstrips any kind of controlled demand.
Precisely. It's a classic supply and demand asymmetry, and the consequence, this overabundance basically pushes down the perceived value of an individual pet.
Makes them seem disposable.
In a way, yes. Or at least it weakens the bond, makes abandonment seem like a more thinkable option. The probability of abandonment and also euthanasia in shelters just goes way up.
Okay.
We even see this bizarre phenomenon called inverse prices.
Inverse prices, what's that?
It's where owners become so desperate to get rid of an animal, they'll actually pay someone else to take it off their hands.
Wow, that really speaks volumes about the situation some owners find themselves in. So if someone hits hard times, loses a job, has to move, gets sick, or the pet develops like serious behavior issues, what are their actual options?
Legally, humanely.
And that's the crux of it. Often there's a real lack of good, legal, humane alternatives. People feel backed into a corner.
So abandonment isn't always malice. It can be desperation.
Very often, yes, a feeling of having nowhere else to turn.
Okay, so given this huge, complex problem, what have we actually tried to do about it historically? And maybe more importantly, why haven't those things worked so well? Well, the traditional approaches, they've mostly fallen short. Things like penalties, fines, even criminal sanctions for abandonment. They sound tough, but they're hard to enforce.
Because it's done secretly?
Exactly. It's usually covert, anonymous, hard to prove who did it.
Yeah.
Microchips are useful, sure, for identifying a lost pet or proving ownership.
Yeah.
But they don't actually stop someone from dropping an animal at a shelter, maybe claiming it was lost, or just, abandoning it somewhere else.
Right. It identifies but doesn't prevent.
Precisely. And even things like taxes or fees on owning pets haven't really made a dent in the overall overpopulation problem. The core issue seems to be the lack of a joined-up, comprehensive system.
So fragmented efforts not really hitting the root causes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so if punishment and fees don't work, what does? You mentioned India earlier, making a big shift. They used to practice mass culling for like 150 years.
That's right up until 2001. A very long history.
And then they shifted to something called animal birth control, or ABC programs, also known as TNVR, Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, Release. Why that big change? Why does that seem to work better?
It's actually kind of counterintuitive why culling fails. Seems like the obvious solution, right? Fewer dogs, fewer problems.
Yeah, that would be my first thought.
But when you remove dogs from an area by culling, you create what's called a territorial vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum, right?
Okay.
So new dogs, often unvaccinated dogs from nearby areas, move in very quickly to fill that empty space.
Ah, so you're just replacing them.
Worse than replacing them. Often, you get increased fighting over the new territory, which can lead to more dog bites.
Yeah.
And because these new dogs are often unvaccinated, you can actually see disease spread increase. It destabilizes the existing dog population.
Wow. Okay, so culling is like putting a Band-Aid on a wound that just keeps reopening and maybe getting infected.
That's a good analogy. It's a temporary fix that can actually worsen the underlying problems long term.
Right. But the ABC or TNVR approach, the results sound really promising. Can you share some of that data? This is where it gets really interesting, seeing what actually makes a difference.
The results are really compelling. Take Jodhpur in India. Their dog population dropped by about 40% in just 3 years with an ABC program. They projected a 70% reduction if it kept going.
40% in 3 years is huge.
It is. Or look at Jaipur's Pink City area, a 50% reduction in strays between 1997 and 2014. And the impact on rabies is just incredible.
Yeah, you mentioned rabies earlier.
In Mumbai, before they started ABC in '94, they had maybe 45 to 63 human rabies deaths a year.
Oh my goodness.
After implementing widespread ABC, sterilizing over 75% of dogs in the core city, by 2014, the number of rabies deaths dropped to zero.
Zero from over 45.
Zero. And Chennai saw a similar drop from 120 human rabies cases in 1996 down to zero since 2007, thanks to their program.
That's just amazing. Lives saved directly because of sterilizing and vaccinating dogs.
Absolutely. And it's not just India. Bangkok switched from culling to TNBR, stopped rabies, reduced aggression. California has used similar programs to cut stray numbers and eliminate rabies too.
So the lesson is, trying to eliminate them doesn't work, but managing them humanely does.
Exactly. It's about creating stable, non-breeding, vaccinated populations. These dogs tend to be friendlier, less aggressive because they're sterilized, they hold their territory, preventing unvaccinated newcomers, and crucially, they don't spread rabies. You turn a problem into manageable coexistence.
That really is a paradigm shift, and India's ABC rules, especially the 2023 version you mentioned, sound like a blueprint for this. What makes that legal framework so effective?
It's very comprehensive. The core rule is clear. Sterilize, vaccinate, and then release the dogs back into their original territories. That release part is key. It prevents that vacuum effect we talked about.
Okay, so it's mandated by law.
Yes, and their structure. Programs need recognition from the Animal Welfare Board of India. There are monitoring committees set up at the central, state, and local levels to ensure accountability.
So it's not just saying do this, it's setting up the oversight too. And practically on the ground, what do these rules require?
Very specific things. Humane capture methods, hand catching, nets minimizing stress, strict standards for the ABC centers themselves, minimum kennel sizes, separate quarantine areas, properly equipped operating theaters with good lighting, ventilation, power backup. It's all about welfare and efficiency.
Okay.
Then there are detailed surgical protocols for castration and spaying, including that ear notching, usually a V-shaped cut, so everyone knows the dog has been treated and doesn't get caught again.
Right. Avoids unnecessary stress and surgery.
Exactly. Plus, strong emphasis on pre-op and post-op care, fluids, proper anesthesia, antibiotics, high veterinary standards, and crucially, every single dog gets an anti-rabies vaccination right before release.
A public health intervention built right in.
Absolutely. And finally, rigorous record keeping. Capture details, release details, treatments, any deaths, even CCTV footage kept for 30 days. It's all about tracking progress and ensuring standards are met.
That sounds incredibly thorough.
Yeah.
The success isn't accidental. It's built on these really detailed, high standards. But, even with great programs, there are always challenges, right? And maybe different perspectives. What hurdles do these comprehensive rules still face?
Oh, definitely. Critics point out things like ongoing resource constraints.
Yeah.
These programs aren't cheap to run properly at scale. There can be ambiguities in classifying dogs. Is it a stray? Is it community-owned? And human-dog conflict, while reduced, might not disappear entirely.
Right.
And there are alternative viewpoints. Some researchers like Kumar and Singh, writing recently, argue that relying only on birth control might not be enough.
Okay, so what do they suggest adding to the mix?
They propose a more layered approach.
Mm-hmm.
Things like encouraging or even mandating ownership of free-roaming dogs, but with proper registration and adoption procedures, making someone accountable.
So trying to find homes or responsible caretakers?
Essentially, yes. And if adoption isn't feasible, they suggest permanent housing for these dogs, but away from streets and public areas where conflict might arise. They also, controversially perhaps, acknowledge euthanasia, but only as an absolute last resort.
For which dogs?
Specifically for dogs posing a clear safety risk to people or wildlife, or those confirmed with rabies. But they stress it's the last option. Their big emphasis is on multi-stakeholder collaboration, getting everyone involved, and finding solutions that fit the local context. It aligns with that One Health idea.
One Health.
Yeah, the concept that human health, animal health, and environmental health are all interconnected. You can't really solve problems in one area without considering the others.
That makes a lot of sense. It's all linked. Okay, so policy's evolving, but what about technology? Can tech help us manage this complex issue better?
Technology definitely has potential. Things like the Internet of Things, IoT, and RFID chips could make tracking and managing dog populations much more efficient. Imagine real-time data on where dogs are, their vaccination status.
Yeah, that would be powerful for targeting programs.
Definitely. And we're also seeing AI and machine learning being explored that could help with monitoring animal health, improving veterinary care, maybe even predicting potential conflict hotspots.
Interesting. Any specific examples out there now?
There's a great one called HSI Apps, developed by Humane Society International. It's a mobile app with GPS and an online dashboard. It basically lets field teams collect huge amounts of data easily, which massively improved how these dog management programs are delivered, monitored, and evaluated. Makes them much more data-driven and accountable.
So tech helps make the programs smarter and more effective. We've got policies, potential tech solutions, but underneath it all, this feels like a really tough ethical balancing act.
It absolutely is.
How do we weigh human safety, especially protecting kids, vulnerable people, against the ethical duty we have towards animal welfare?
That is the core tension, isn't it?
Yeah.
You hear these tragic stories of dog attacks, and the immediate reaction is, understandably, about human safety. But then you have the principle of an animal's right to life, which India's Supreme Court has actually recognized, extending some constitutional protections.
It's a direct conflict sometimes.
Yeah.
And it throws into sharp relief how differently we often treat, say, a well-bred pet compared to a stray, a social outcast animal. Ethically, practices like mass culling, poisoning, cruel relocation, they're really problematic from an animal welfare standpoint. Finding that middle ground is the challenge.
So moving forward, how do we actually try to strike that balance? What are the concrete steps, the integrated solutions we should be aiming for?
Based on the sources, a few key things stand out. First, truly integrated policies. Governments really need to work hand in hand with civil society groups on vaccination and sterilization, and proactively work to prevent abandonment in the first place. Better regulation, maybe support for owners in crisis, plus specific national policies to manage human-dog conflict, not just reacting case by case.
Okay, integrated policy. What else?
Dedicated facilities are vital. Things like designated feeding stations for community dogs, accessible veterinary care, and real support, financial and logistical, for animal welfare organizations doing the groundwork. And maybe dedicated helplines for reporting attacks so responses are quicker and we get better data.
Makes sense. Infrastructure and support.
Third, public awareness and education. This is huge. Promoting responsible pet ownership, explaining why sterilization is important, teaching people how to interact safely with dogs, all of that can reduce both abandonment and conflict.
So changing attitudes and behaviors.
Exactly. Fourth, that multi-stakeholder collaboration we mentioned, getting local authorities, animal groups, and the community itself talking and working together to find solutions that fit their specific area. No one-size-fits-all answer.
Right, context matters.
And finally, maybe thinking creatively about roles for dogs. Leveraging their skills, drug detection, bomb sniffing, therapy work. If society sees dogs contributing in these positive ways, it might help shift perception, foster more respect and value for them beyond just being pets or pests.
That's an interesting angle, changing the narrative.
Yeah, integrating them more positively into the fabric of society.
Okay. So we've covered a lot today. From the sheer global scale and the hidden costs, economic, health, environmental, to why old methods failed and how humane management like ABCT and VR offers a real path forward, especially when backed by strong frameworks like India's. And the role tech can play, but also the deep ethical questions at the heart of it. It's clear this isn't just an animal issue.
Not at all. It's deeply societal, deeply ethical, and it demands a much more sophisticated response than we've often given it.
The real challenge seems to be shifting from just reacting often poorly to building proactive, joined-up systems that genuinely value both human safety and animal well-being.
That's the goal. It needs sustained effort, collaboration, using policy, tech, and real community buy-in together.
So as you listening reflect on this deep dive, maybe think about this. What role could you play, even in a small way, in fostering a community where people and animals can coexist more safely, more humanely? How could more individual responsibility coupled with some of these innovative community solutions start to change the picture where you live?